Lightning tore through the sky as 16-year-old Eli Abram staggered home from school, the storm exploding overhead. In a flash of white fire, his body collapsed, lifeless, in the middle of the street. But Eli's story didn't end there, it began. What he saw after death would shake the very core of his beliefs. Visions of Israel's future. A radiant man named Jesus. A message for the world. This is the near-death testimony no one expected, and you'll never forget. Hold on a minute, if you have not subscribed to our channel, do well to subscribe, like, comment and share videos of this channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.
My name is Eli Abram. I'm 16 years old, and I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I go to a Jewish high school a few miles from home. Life was pretty normal: school, homework, synagogue on weekends. I never thought much about death or anything beyond what I could see. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because it was the day I had a huge math test. The sky had been clear when I left for school, but by the time classes were over, thick clouds had rolled in. I didn't have a ride that day, so I started walking home like I usually did. It wasn't far, just over a mile. I'd done it 100 times. I was halfway there when the wind picked up. It was like the air had suddenly turned alive, sharp and restless. I heard thunder in the distance, but I thought I could make it before the storm hit. I was wrong. Raindrops started falling fast, heavy, soaking through my backpack and clothes. I pulled my hoodie up and kept walking, head down. I passed the corner store, the one with the faded green awning, and that's the last thing I remember clearly. There was no warning. No flash, no sound, just a feeling. A weird tingling ran up my legs and chest. I tried to move, to scream maybe, but then everything exploded. It was like being slammed by a train made of fire and noise. My body lit up from the inside, and then, just like that, it all stopped. Blackness. Total silence. But then something strange happened. I felt like I was floating, like I was lifting out of myself. I didn't feel pain anymore, only weightlessness. I could see the street below, my body lying on the sidewalk. I saw people running toward me, a woman screaming into her phone, a man kneeling beside me. I wanted to yell, to tell them I was okay, but no sound came out. I wasn't inside my body anymore. It felt like I was being pulled upward, not by wind or gravity, but by something else. Gentle, strong, like an invisible hand was guiding me. The colors around me started changing. The sky wasn't just gray, it was full of swirling light, soft music I couldn't explain, and this overwhelming feeling of peace. It's hard to describe, but it was like all the fear and confusion just melted away. I knew deep down I wasn't on Earth anymore. At first, I thought I was dreaming. My logical brain kept trying to explain it. Maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe I was dying and my brain was just making things up. But it didn't feel like a dream. It felt more real than anything I'd ever known. As I moved further away from my body, everything below became smaller. The world I knew, school, my house, my parents, faded into the distance. And then, there was only light. Not just brightness, but something alive. It wrapped around me, warm and calm, like it knew me, like it had always known me. I didn't know where I was going, but I wasn't afraid. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was being completely seen, like every part of me was known and accepted. The noise of the world was gone, and in its place was this incredible stillness. That's when I realized I had died. The moment I realized I had died, something inside me shifted. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't even sad. It's strange to say, but I felt free, like I had just let go of a heavy weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Then I saw it. A tunnel opened up in front of me. It wasn't like a real tunnel made of stone or dirt. It was made of light. Colors I had never seen before swirled around me. Soft blues, deep golds, glowing whites. They moved like they were alive, dancing to music I couldn't quite hear, but somehow felt in every part of me. I was being pulled forward, not forced, but gently invited. There was no fear. Just peace. A peace so deep and full, I didn't even think to resist it. I floated through the tunnel, the colors wrapping around me like a warm blanket. I didn't feel my body anymore. No pain, no cold, no wet clothes or burned skin, just light, music, and a feeling that I was going somewhere good. The music. I don't even know how to describe it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even like any music I'd ever heard. It was like a heartbeat mixed with singing, but not with words. It spoke to me without language. It told me I was safe, that I was loved, that everything I'd ever worried about didn't matter here. As I kept moving through the tunnel, I felt more and more like myself, but also like someone new. It was as if all the noise of life, the pressure, the doubt, the pretending, had been stripped away. What was left was something real, something pure. I could think clearly, but I wasn't overthinking. I could feel everything, but it didn't hurt. I thought about my parents, my little sister, my friends at school. I didn't miss them in the way you'd think. I still loved them, deeply, but I understood now that they would be okay. Time didn't feel the same here. It felt slower and faster all at once, like everything had already happened and was still happening at the same time. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. I didn't see anyone at first, but I felt the presence of someone, something, so much greater than me. Not just watching me, but guiding me, protecting me, loving me. I didn't know what to call it yet. I just knew it was good. I felt like I belonged here, like I had always belonged but had forgotten until now. The light at the end of the tunnel started to grow brighter. Not harsh, not blinding, just pure. I couldn't stop looking at it. It was like everything I'd ever wanted was waiting there. Every answer, every hope, every piece of joy I'd ever searched for. I remember thinking, this can't be my imagination. I was too awake, too clear. Dreams are messy. This wasn't. This was perfect. It felt more real than my life ever had. And then the music grew louder, like a chorus of voices. Still no words, but somehow I understood it. The sound was filled with welcome. Like they were happy I had come. Like I had been expected. I was moving faster now, drawn toward the brightest part of the tunnel. I still didn't know what was ahead, but I knew I wanted to get there. Every part of me was reaching for it. Not because I was running from something, but because I was being drawn to something better, something holy. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far more real than anything I'd ever known. As I moved closer to the end of the tunnel, the light grew stronger, brighter, but not like the sun. It didn't hurt to look at it. In fact, it felt like it was pulling every broken part of me back together. Then I saw him. A man stood in the light. At first, I couldn't make out his face clearly. There was something about him that was more than human. His whole being gave off warmth and light, not just around him, but from within him. It was like he was the light. And yet, the moment our eyes met, I felt like I'd known him my whole life. He didn't speak right away, not out loud. But somehow, I heard him. In my mind, in my heart, in every cell of my spirit. Eli, he said. He knew my name. That one word broke me in a way nothing ever had. Not out of fear, but out of a love so deep I couldn't hold it. Tears poured out of me, even though I didn't think I had a body anymore. It felt like every wall I'd ever built just fell to pieces the moment he said my name. He stepped closer. I could see him more clearly now. His eyes. I'd never seen eyes like that. They were dark, but full of light at the same time. They saw through me, not just into me, but through me. All the mistakes I'd made, all the things I was ashamed of, all the moments I doubted or hated myself. He saw it all, and still there was no anger, only love. Pure, honest, undeserved love. He smiled, not just with his mouth, but with his whole face. It made me feel like I was finally home. He opened his arms, and I didn't even hesitate. I ran into them. The moment he embraced me, I felt everything inside me explode into light. There was no fear, no guilt, no confusion. Just peace. Just love. "I've been with you your whole life," he said gently, his voice like wind and thunder and calm water all at once. "But I didn't believe in you," I whispered. He nodded. "I know. I never even said your name," I told him. "In my house, in my school, we didn't talk about you. Not like this." "I know," he said again. "And I never left you." His words hit me harder than anything else. I remembered every moment I had felt alone. Every night I cried in secret. Every time I had questioned if God was even real. He had been there through all of it. Watching. Waiting. Loving me through my doubt. "You're Jesus," I said finally. The words came out of me like a breath I had been holding for years. He smiled again, but this time there was something deeper in his eyes. A sadness, maybe. Not because he was hurt, but because he understood. He knew how long it had taken me to see him. How hard it had been to believe. "I'm Yeshua," he said. "The Messiah of Israel. The one your people have been waiting for." That sentence shook me. I had always thought Jesus was for Christians. That he was part of another religion, another story. But here he was, real, alive, and standing right in front of me. "But I'm Jewish," I said, still trying to understand. "I know," he said, touching my chest gently. "And I came for you. For all of you." I couldn't stop crying. Not out of sadness, but out of truth. Everything I had been taught, everything I had believed, it was like I was seeing it from the other side now. And it wasn't what I thought. It wasn't about religion. It was about relationships. About knowing him. And somehow, I had always known him. Deep down. I had just never understood it until now. "I love your people," he said softly. "I always have. And I always will. Even when they don't see me, even when they reject me, I haven't turned away. My heart is still for Israel." His words hit me like waves. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He was broken-hearted for us, not at us. He pulled back slightly, just enough to look me in the eyes again. "You can't stay," he said. "Not yet." "Why?" I asked, panicked. "I didn't want to leave." "Not ever." "Because they need to know," he said. "You need to tell them." "Tell them what?" I asked. He leaned in and whispered, "Tell them I am coming soon. Not as a baby this time, but as a king." The words echoed inside me, deeper than sound. I nodded, even though I didn't know how I would do it. I just knew I had to try. Then everything started to fade. The light, the peace, the music, it all began to slip away. "I'll be with you," he said. "Always." And just like that, I was gone. Falling backward. Being pulled away from the most beautiful place I had ever seen. Just before I was pulled all the way back, Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder and looked into my eyes one last time. "There's something else I need to show you," he said. Suddenly, everything around us changed. The light faded, and it was like we were standing above the earth, looking down on it. The feeling of peace was still there, but it was mixed with something heavier, sorrow, urgency, something I can't fully explain. Then the visions began. I saw Israel. My home. But not like I knew it. The land looked the same. Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, the hills, the desert, but there was something wrong. I saw people arguing in the streets. shouting, protesting, families divided, synagogues half empty. Faith becomes something cold and formal. People keeping tradition, but forgetting the reason behind it. Spiritual decline, Jesus said. They honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far. The scene changed again. I saw our borders, north, south, east. Missiles were flying. Sirens blared. Soldiers were running. There was war, or the threat of it, on every side. The faces of the people looked tired, afraid, alone. Then I saw leaders, politicians in dark rooms, making deals behind closed doors. Some were our allies, people we had trusted. They were turning their backs on us, saying one thing in public but doing the opposite in private. It felt like betrayal. All of this must happen, Jesus said. It was written long ago. Why are you showing me this? I asked him. Because they won't believe it unless someone tells them, he said. And you've seen it with your own eyes. Then, just when everything felt hopeless, the scene shifted again. I saw a man standing alone at a podium, facing a storm of cameras, reporters, and critics. He looked older than I remembered from TV, his hair more silver, but his face was firm. I recognized him instantly. It was Donald Trump. I watched as leaders from other countries condemned Israel. Some used harsh words. Others stayed silent, pretending not to see what was happening. Even some of our own people began to lose hope. But Trump didn't move. He stood his ground. He spoke up when others backed down. I heard his voice say, I will stand with Israel. Not because it's easy. Not because it's popular. But because it's right. The reaction was instant. The media mocked him. Other politicians distanced themselves. Even some of his own advisors tried to stop him. But he didn't change. He didn't fold. He isn't perfect, Jesus said. No man is. But I chose him for this time. To speak truth when the world is filled with lies. To bless my people when others curse them. I felt stunned. I had never paid much attention to politics. At home, we didn't talk about Trump much, and when we did, it was usually with jokes or arguments. But here, in this place beyond time, I saw something else, something bigger. He wasn't being praised by the world, but he was being used by God. Then Jesus showed me faces. Jewish faces. Some in Israel. Some in America. Some in places I didn't recognize. Men and women, old and young. Some were praying. Some were questioning. Some were weeping. And then I saw light begin to return to their eyes. I will wake up my people, Jesus said. Even in the middle of chaos. Even through pain. I will not let them be forgotten. Next, I saw churches, Christian churches. Some were full of light, full of people on their knees, praying for Israel, crying out for truth. Others were cold, dark, empty. Their windows closed, their doors locked. Inside, people sat silently, ignoring what was happening in the world. Jesus looked sad. Many of them have forgotten, he said. They've replaced my promises with comfort. But there is a remnant who still hear my voice, and they will rise. Then I saw something that took my breath away. People from every race, every language, every background, all walking together toward a great mountain. And at the top of the mountain stood Jesus, arms open wide. They will come, he said, from every nation, not for religion, not for politics, but for truth, for love, for me. Tears ran down my face. Not from fear, but from the weight of what I had just seen. What do I do with all this? I asked him. Tell them, he said. Tell them what's coming. Tell them I haven't forgotten Israel, that I haven't changed, that I am coming soon, and they must be ready. He paused, then added something I'll never forget. The days ahead will be hard. There will be more betrayal, more shaking, more sorrow. But there will also be awakening, revival, hope. I am not done with my people. I am not done with this world. The vision faded slowly. The light returned. I felt myself begin to slip away from him, pulled backward, like a wave going out to sea. But his final words stayed with me. I'm coming soon. And tell them I love them, deeply, fiercely. I want them to know him. I chose you, Eli, not because you're strong, but because you will speak. Go and tell them. Time is shorter than they think. And just like that, I was gone. Jesus looked at me with eyes that held the whole world. It's hard to explain, but when he looked at me, it felt like he saw everything I had ever done, every thought I ever had, and he still loved me. Completely. No shame. No fear. Just truth and love wrapped into one. Then he spoke words that I still hear every time I close my eyes. Eli, he said, I am coming soon. His voice didn't sound angry. It wasn't loud or forceful. It was calm, clear, and full of weight, like every word had been carved into time itself. Not as a lamb this time, he continued, but as a king. That sentence hit me like thunder. I had always heard about the Messiah in stories growing up, but no one ever told me he would come back like this. Not weak, not quiet, but strong, glorious, and ready to make everything right. I didn't know what to say. My mind was racing. My heart felt like it was going to break in two. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go back to the world I came from, where people argue about truth like it's a debate, where pain and confusion fill the air like smoke. But Jesus stepped closer. He placed his hand on my chest, right where the lightning had struck me. You have to go back now, he said. Why me? I asked. Why choose a kid like me? He smiled. Because you'll tell the truth. You've seen it, and you won't stay silent. I could feel something shift inside me. Like a fire had been lit in my bones. I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel wise or brave. But I knew, deep in my soul, that this moment was going to shape the rest of my life. You're not going alone, Jesus said. I'll be with you. I've always been with you, even when you didn't know my name. His hand was still on my chest, and as he spoke, I felt something pass from him into me. Not physically, but spiritually, like a light or maybe a purpose. It's hard to describe, but I knew something eternal had been placed inside me. Then the world around us started to change again. The colors faded. The music quieted. I felt myself being pulled backward, away from him. No, I cried. Please don't let me forget this. Don't let me lose what I've seen. You won't forget, he said. I've written it in your heart. I felt tears streaming down my face. He leaned in close, and his voice, though soft, felt like it was being carved into my soul. Tell them what I showed you, he said. Tell T before it's too late. Then he whispered something else, something personal. I won't share that part here because it was just between me and him. But I'll say this, it broke me in the best way. It showed me that Jesus doesn't just see crowds or nations. He sees people, individuals, names, hearts. He sees you. In a blink, I was being pulled through that tunnel of light and color again. Only this time, it felt faster, like I was falling backward through space. I couldn't stop crying. Not from fear, but from the heartbreak of leaving. I didn't want to go. But I understood now, I had to. The light faded. The music disappeared. And suddenly, it was dark. I heard shouting. Real voices this time. He's back! He's breathing! Everything hurts. My chest felt like it had been torn open. I couldn't move. I could barely breathe. Then I felt a mask being placed over my face, oxygen rushing in. Hands pressed hard on my chest, trying to stop the bleeding. I realized I was in an ambulance, surrounded by paramedics, but all I could think about was him. His voice. His eyes. His words. "I am coming soon." Those words echoed over and over in my mind as I slipped in and out of consciousness. I didn't know what my life would look like after that moment. I didn't know how people would react or what they would say. But I knew this. I couldn't keep this to myself. He sent me back for a reason. To tell you. To warn you. To invite you. Because he's not just coming back someday. He's coming soon. And he's not coming as a baby this time. He's coming as a king. I woke up to chaos. There were voices all around me, loud, urgent, panicked. I couldn't make out the words at first, but I could feel hands on my body, pressing, moving, holding. My eyes shot open, and for a second, everything was blurry. Then I heard someone yell, "He's breathing!" The pain hit me like a wave. It wasn't just one place. It was everywhere. My chest felt like it had been split open. My arms and legs burned. Even breathing hurt. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't listen. I was strapped down, and someone was placing an oxygen mask over my face. "You're okay," one of the paramedics said. "Just breathe. We've got you." I couldn't speak. All I could do was lie there and cry, partly from the pain, but mostly from what I had just left behind. Jesus. The light. That peace. It was gone now, and I was back in this broken body that felt like it had been torn apart. At the hospital, everything moved fast. Doctors, nurses, beeping machines, bright lights. They rushed me into a room, started tests, scans, everything. I could see the worry in their faces. No one said it, but I could tell. They didn't expect me to live. Later, I learned I had been dead for over 7 minutes. They said the lightning had entered my head and exited through my chest. Most people don't survive a direct strike like that, especially not when it hits the heart. But somehow I did. No one had answers. One of the doctors even said, "We can't explain this." But I could. I remembered everything. Every single second on the other side. I remembered Jesus' voice. His eyes. His touch. And the mission he gave me. Even though my mouth was dry and my throat was raw, I whispered the first thing that came to mind. "I saw Jesus." The nurse next to me froze for a second. Then she smiled softly and said, "Just rest." But I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't confused. I meant every word. When they finally let my parents in, my mom collapsed at my bedside, sobbing. She grabbed my hand and held it like she'd never let go again. My dad just stood there, pale, silent, staring at the machines. I think he was trying to understand how I was still alive. When we were alone later, I told him everything. The light, the tunnel, the Messiah. My mom didn't say much. She just cried and held me. My dad looked away, shook his head, and said, "Your brain was just trying to protect you. These things happen when people almost die." But I knew it wasn't just something my brain made up. And the scar on my chest proved it. When they finally let me see it, I couldn't believe it. A jagged, branching burn stretched from my left shoulder down to my ribs. It looked like a tree, blackened and raw, like it had been carved into my skin with fire. The doctors called it a Lichtenberg figure. A lightning tree. It was painful, yes. But to me, it wasn't just a scar. It was a mark. A reminder. A reminder that I had died. And that I had come back for a reason. The days after I came home from the hospital were the hardest of my life. Not because of the pain in my chest or the burns on my skin, but because of what was happening inside our home. At first, my mom couldn't stop crying. She cried when she saw me sleeping. She cried when I sat at the table with her. She cried when I reached for her hand. I don't think it was just sadness. It was relief, fear, love, and confusion all rolled into one. I caught her staring at me when she thought I wasn't looking, like she was afraid I'd disappear again. My dad was different. He didn't show much emotion. He went back to work after a few days like nothing had happened, but I could see it in his eyes. He was shaken. He barely spoke to me about what had happened, and when he did, it was always careful, distant. Then came the moment I told them. It was just the three of us sitting in the living room. The lights were dim. I had asked them if we could talk. My mom sat next to me, holding a cup of tea with both hands, like it was keeping her grounded. My dad sat across from us, arms crossed, waiting. "I need to tell you something," I said, my voice soft. "Something that happened when I was gone." They both looked at me. I took a deep breath. I saw someone. On the other side. His name was Jesus. My mom blinked, confused. My dad leaned forward slightly, his brow tightening. I didn't imagine it. I said quickly, "He knew my name. He spoke to me. He showed me things about Israel, about the world. And he told me to come back. He said he's coming soon." The room fell silent. My mom's hand started to shake. The tea spilled a little, but she didn't notice. She just stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. My dad sat back in his chair, exhaling hard through his nose. "Eli," he said slowly, "you've been through something traumatic. Your brain, it was shutting down. These kinds of visions are common, especially in people who've been raised with strong stories or symbols around them, even ones we don't talk about." "But we never talked about Jesus," I said. "You never let us." "That's exactly why," he said, his voice rising just a little. "Because it's not for us. We're Jewish. We don't believe in him." "I know," I said. "I didn't either. But this wasn't about belief. It was real. I saw him. I felt him. And I need you to know, he wasn't a stranger. He felt like home." My mom put her hand on my leg, squeezing gently. Her eyes were full of tears, but she still hadn't spoken. My dad stood up and started pacing the room. "So what now?" he asked. "You're going to convert? Turn your back on your people? Is that it?" "No," I said. "I'm still Jewish. I always will be. But I know something now that I didn't before. The Messiah, we missed him. He already came." He stopped pacing. His face turned red. He looked at me like I'd just stabbed him in the heart. "That's enough," he said. "I won't have that in this house." My mom finally spoke. "Please," she whispered. "Please, both of you. Just breathe." I didn't say anything else that night. I couldn't. I went up to my room and lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I could still hear Jesus' voice in my mind. "Tell them I'm coming soon." But how could I tell them if they wouldn't even listen? That night, I realized something painful. My return from death didn't just change me. It was changing everything. And not everyone would be ready for it. Going back to school felt like stepping into a different world. Nothing had changed, really. The same old hallways. The same lockers. The same teachers calling out attendance in the morning. But the way people looked at me? That was different. That was new. Some of them stared. Some avoided my eyes completely. And a few, I could tell, were whispering as I passed. I even caught one girl nudging her friend and pointing at my chest. I was wearing layers to cover the scar, but the story had already gotten around. They said I died and came back. They said I saw something. Some said I'd gone crazy. It didn't take long before the comments started. Quiet at first, then louder. "He thinks he saw Jesus. I heard he's preaching now. Isn't he Jewish?" There was this one kid, Ari, who used to sit next to me in Hebrew class. We'd worked on projects together. We even hung out once or twice at youth group. He walked past me in the hall and muttered, "Traitor," under his breath. I stopped walking. My stomach sank. I wanted to say something, but I didn't. What would I even say? Some of the Jewish kids stopped talking to me completely. A few even blocked me on social media. I wasn't surprised, really. What I said went against everything we were taught to believe. I knew it was hard to hear, but it still hurt. Not because I needed their approval, but because I still loved them. I still saw them the same way I did before. They just didn't see me the same way anymore. But not everyone pushed me away. One day at lunch, I was sitting alone, just picking at my food, when a girl I barely knew came and sat across from me. Her name was Grace. She was part of the Christian club at school. I'd seen her around, always smiling, always friendly. "I heard what happened," she said softly. "I believe you." I looked up at her, unsure how to respond. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. "This is a verse I've been thinking about since I heard your story. I think it's for you." It was from the book of Acts. Something about boldness and not being afraid to speak the truth. After that, more students from the Christian group started reaching out. They didn't treat me like I was crazy. They didn't ask for proof. They just listened. Some asked me questions. Some just told me they were praying for me. I found myself sitting with them at lunch more and more. Not because they had all the answers, but because they gave me space to be who I was becoming. Still, it was lonely. I miss my old friends. I miss feeling like I belonged somewhere. Now I felt caught in the middle, too Christian for the Jewish kids, too Jewish for the Christian ones. But even with all of that, I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were. I had seen too much. So I sat in that strange in-between place, hoping that someday the people who turned away from me might understand. That maybe, one day, they'd ask what I saw. And when they did, I'd be ready. The pain didn't go away right away. Some mornings, it still hurt to get out of bed. My chest would tighten when I moved too fast. The doctor said there could be lasting damage to my heart. I believed them, but I also knew my heart had changed in ways they couldn't see on a scan. Something inside me was different now. Before the lightning, I prayed because I was taught to. The words were memorized, the motions routine. It wasn't fake. I believed in God, but it felt distant, formal, like trying to talk to someone behind a wall. Now, when I prayed, it felt like a conversation. I didn't need perfect words. I just spoke, and I listened. Sometimes I didn't even say anything. I just sat still and waited. And in that silence, I'd feel something deep, warm, and peaceful rise up inside me. Like God was near. Like He was actually there. I'd never felt that before. Even walking outside felt different. The trees looked more alive. The wind felt more like breath and air. The sky didn't seem empty anymore. I saw beauty in small things, like the way light hit a leaf or how quiet the world got after it rained. I don't think I ever really noticed those things before. I was always busy, always rushing, always distracted. But now every moment felt like a gift I didn't deserve but had been given anyway. And the traditions, our Jewish customs, the rhythms of our faith, they didn't lose meaning. In fact, they felt more real. I still lit candles with my mom every Friday night. I still helped prepare for Shabbat, said the blessings, sang the songs. But something had shifted. Before, they were acts of obedience. Now, they were acts of love. I saw them as part of a bigger story, a promise God made to our people, and a promise that had been fulfilled in Yeshua Jesus. I know that name makes people uncomfortable, especially in our community. It made me uncomfortable once, too. But not anymore. Because I met Him. He didn't take me away from being Jewish. He helped me understand it more deeply. I remember sitting at my desk one night, flipping through my old Torah notes. I found a section we had studied about the suffering servant in Isaiah. Back then, we were told it was about Israel. I had accepted that, just like we all did. But now, reading it again, I saw something else. Someone else. It was him. The one I met. It was like the words had been waiting for me to come back with new eyes. I started journaling. Writing down thoughts, questions, prayers. Pages filled up quickly. I wasn't trying to be religious. I was just trying to hold on to what I had seen, to not forget. Some nights I'd write for hours, remembering the sound of his voice, the weight of his presence, the look in his eyes when he said my name. Even when the pain came back, or when I felt isolated at school, or when I saw the worry in my parents' eyes, I still had peace. Not the kind that comes from everything going right, but the kind that stays even when everything goes wrong. That peace didn't come from within me. It came from him. Sometimes, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just sit by my window, looking up at the stars, whispering one simple sentence over and over. I know you're real. I didn't need signs. I didn't need more proof. I had already seen enough. And even though I was still figuring things out, still Jewish, still young, still full of questions, I had a fire inside me now that couldn't be put out. This wasn't just a phase. It wasn't some emotional reaction to a near-death experience. It was a calling. And I was going to follow it, wherever it led. After a few weeks at home, I started to feel stronger. My body still hurt, and my energy came in waves, but I was healing. I spent a lot of time resting in bed, or sitting quietly with my journal or watching the news, which became something I couldn't stop doing. At first, I didn't know why I was drawn to it. But then, piece by piece, I started to understand. The things I had seen in that place, when I was with Jesus, started to appear on the screen in front of me. The news reports were like echoes of the visions he showed me. Protests in Jerusalem. Tensions between nations. Rumors of wars. Allies turning their backs on Israel. It didn't feel like a coincidence. I remember one report in particular. A global summit was happening, and most world leaders were pressuring Israel to make dangerous compromises. The tone from the media was cold, even angry. There was this strange shift, like the world didn't want to stand with us anymore. Then Donald Trump got up to speak. I had never paid much attention to him before, but that day I sat up straighter and listened carefully. He didn't speak the way politicians usually do. He spoke with bluntness, with force. He said things I never expected to hear. He defended Israel. Openly, strongly, without hesitation. Everyone else seemed ready to walk away from us. But he didn't. It was exactly what Jesus had shown me, down to the moment. I remembered seeing it in the vision. A man standing alone while others backed away, holding firm when no one else would. I never thought it would be Trump. But there he was. I glanced at my dad, who was watching the same broadcast from the kitchen table. He didn't say anything right away, but I saw the shift in his face. His jaw clenched, his eyes narrowed in a way that meant he was thinking hard. That night, while we were cleaning up after dinner, he said something I didn't expect. Maybe there's something to what you saw. He said it quietly, like he didn't want the words to be too loud in the room. My mom stopped moving for a second and just looked at him. I didn't say anything either. I just stood there, my heart pounding. He kept talking. It's not just you. It's what's happening out there. Things don't feel normal anymore. There's a shift. And the way that man stood up today, everyone told him not to. But he did it anyway. It was the first time my father admitted he might not have all the answers. He's a logical man, grounded in science and tradition. But something about what was happening made him hesitate. He still didn't say he believed me, but I could feel the wall starting to crack. I saw other stories too, some small, some big. new laws being passed, violence breaking out in places I had seen in the vision, countries changing their tone toward Israel, spiritual confusion rising all around. None of it surprised me anymore. Jesus had shown me this. He hadn't said when, but he had said, "Soon." Now, soon didn't feel vague. It felt close. I started sharing what I was noticing with the few Christian friends I had made. They nodded along, eyes wide. "It's happening," one of them whispered. "It's really starting." I could see the fear in some of them, but also the hope. For me, it wasn't about panic. It was about being awake, about seeing clearly. The world was changing, just like he said it would. And now I understood why he sent me back. Not to scare people, not to argue, but to tell the truth, to warn them, to prepare them. Because Jesus isn't just a figure from history. He's real. And everything he told me is coming to pass. One headline at a time. After everything I saw, something inside me changed completely. I wasn't scared anymore. Not of death, not of being rejected, not even of people thinking I was crazy. The fear was gone, and in its place was this steady, quiet fire. I felt it burning every day, reminding me that I had been sent back for a reason. I didn't come back from the dead to sit in silence. At first, I tried just talking to my friends. Not all of them were ready to hear it. Some nodded politely and changed the subject. Others looked at me like I'd joined some cult. But a few leaned in. Their eyes softened, and they asked real questions. "What did he look like? What did he say? Why would he come to you?" I didn't always know how to answer. I wasn't a preacher. I didn't have fancy words. But I had the truth, what I saw, what I heard, and what I felt in the presence of Jesus. And I shared it as best as I could, like one friend talking to another. Then I started writing. I wrote everything down, the whole story from the moment I was struck by lightning to the visions and the message Jesus gave me. I posted parts of it online. At first, barely anyone noticed. But slowly, it started spreading. People began to share it. Some left hateful comments. Some called me delusional. But others, many others, reached out and said, "I felt something when I read this. I can't explain it, but I believe you." That's when I realized this wasn't just for me. It was for them. For anyone willing to listen. I don't go around trying to convert people. That's not what this is about. I'm not trying to drag someone into a religion or tell them they have to be like me. I just want to tell the truth, what I saw, what I know now without a doubt. Jesus is real. He's alive. And he's coming back. There's an urgency in me I can't shake. Not panic. Not fear. Just this deep understanding that time is running out faster than we think. The world is spinning towards something big. And we need to be awake. I started talking to my classmates again. Not just the ones who believed me, but even the ones who didn't. I approached them kindly. I didn't argue or try to prove anything. I just said, "I know this sounds impossible, but please just ask God yourself. If he's real, he'll show you." Some rolled their eyes, but a few actually did. One kid told me later that after we talked, he went home, shut his door, and whispered, "God, if you're there, let me feel you." He said he felt this warmth spread over him like a blanket. He cried for the first time in years. Things like that keep happening. I'm not special. I'm not more holy or more chosen than anyone else. I just died and came back with a message. And now I have to keep speaking. Even when it's hard. Even when people call me names. Even when some family members avoid me. I know what I saw. I remember the sound of Jesus' voice. I remember the way he looked at me, not just with love but with purpose. Like he was sending me out. "Tell them I'm coming soon," he said. So I am. I've started getting messages from strangers now. People who heard about me through a friend or saw something I'd posted. Some ask questions. Others ask for prayer. A few just say, "Thank you." Every time I hear from someone, it's like a little reminder from heaven. Keep going. Sometimes I sit outside at night, staring up at the sky, wondering when it'll happen, when Jesus will return like he said. I don't know the day. I don't know the hour. But I know it's coming. And I know I was sent back to help others be ready. This isn't about religion. It's about the truth. It's about waking up. So if you're hearing this, if you followed this far, please don't ignore it. I'm not asking you to believe because I said so. I'm asking you to ask God yourself. He hears you. He sees you. He's been with you, even when you didn't know it. Just like he was with me. I'll keep speaking for as long as I have breath. I don't know how many days I've got left, but however many it is, I'll use them to share this message. He's coming soon. Be ready. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you. I don't take your time lightly. You didn't have to listen. You didn't have to care. But something brought you here. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was pain. Maybe you've been wondering about life, about death, about what really matters. Or maybe, like me, you felt something stirring deep inside that you can't explain. Wherever you are, whoever you are, I want to say something simple but serious. He's real. Jesus, Yeshua, is real. Not just a name in a history book. Not just a figure Christians worship. Not just a prophet or a teacher. He is the Messiah. The one our prophets spoke about. The one Israel has waited for. And he's coming soon. I know those words sound crazy to some. I would have thought the same before all this happened to me. I didn't grow up believing in Jesus. I grew up hearing that he wasn't for us. That he was for them. Christians. The church. The Goyim. I was taught he couldn't possibly be the Messiah because if he was, we would have peace. The world would be healed. But when I met him, all that changed. I didn't just see light. I didn't just feel love. I stood in the presence of the one who holds everything together. The one who knows every thought in your mind and every pain in your heart. He called me by name. He knew me. He still does. And he knows you too. He knows your questions. He knows your doubts. He knows what's keeping you up at night. And he's not angry at you. He's not here to shame you or scare you. He's here to wake you up. To call you back. To remind you that you were made for more than just surviving. This life isn't a game. It's not a joke. It's not meaningless. We're living in a moment that's more important than most people realize. Everything is shifting. Everything is speeding up. The signs are everywhere, just like he showed me. And yet most of the world is asleep. I'm not saying that to judge anyone. I was asleep too. I thought I had time. I thought truth was just whatever felt right. But when I died, I found out how wrong I was. And now I carry the truth like a fire in my bones. Jesus is not a myth. He's not a Christian invention. He is the Jewish Messiah. The one promised by Isaiah, by Daniel, by Zechariah. The one who suffered and died and rose again, not to start a new religion, but to fulfill the story of Israel. He's coming again. This time not as a suffering servant, but as a king, a judge, a warrior, a redeemer. He's not coming to argue or debate. He's coming to rule. And before that day comes, we each have a choice to make. Not a religious choice. A hard choice. A truth choice. Will we keep pretending this life is all there is? Will we keep hiding behind excuses, pride, or fear? Or will we finally ask the question that matters most? God, are you real? And if you are, will you show me? That's all it takes. You don't need fancy words. You don't need a priest or a rabbi or a pastor. You don't need to perform or pretend. You just need a real, honest heart. That's what he's looking for. I've had people tell me, Eli, I want to believe you, but I just can't. I always tell them the same thing. Don't believe because I said it. Ask him. If what I've shared is true, then he can confirm it to you. Just ask. God is not afraid of your doubts, but he is calling you to decide. Because the day is coming, and it's closer than you think, when every eye will see, and every heart will know. And on that day, there won't be time to wrestle with it anymore. The time for choosing will be over. Right now, there is still time. So if you hear anything I've said, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this: he loves you. Not in a weak or shallow way, but with a love so deep it tore through death to reach you. A love that fights for you, that waits for you, that weeps when you run away and rejoices when you turn back. I saw that love. I felt it. And I'm telling you, nothing in this world compares to it. So please, don't ignore this moment. Turn off the noise. Step away from the distractions. Go somewhere quiet. And just ask, Jesus, if you are who Eli says you are, if you are the Messiah, show me. And then wait. You might not hear thunder. You might not see a vision. But something will happen. A shift. A whisper. A peace you can't explain. That's him. Don't harden your heart. Don't push it away. The time is short, but the door is still open, and he's waiting on the other side. Thank you for listening to my story. I didn't choose it, but I accept it, because I know what I saw, and I know why I came back. To tell you, he's coming soon. Be ready. Be awake. Be willing. He loves you, and he's not far.